Chinese civilization did not begin in the Yellow River Valley. It began, or at least one version of it began, 1,200 kilometers southwest, in a place that should not have existed. For most of the 20th century, the official story held that the Shang dynasty was the source, the trunk from which everything Chinese eventually branched. Then a farmer digging a drainage ditch in Sichuan struck something hard, and the entire family tree collapsed. What came out of the soil at Sanxingdui did not look Chinese. It did not look like anything else on Earth, and it had been buried deliberately and violently more than 3,000 years ago by the very people who made it. The site sits on the Chengdu Plain, ringed by rammed earth walls enclosing roughly 3.6 square kilometers, larger than any contemporary Shang city to the east. Brick workers stumbled on jade fragments in 1929. Nothing serious followed for 57 years. Then, in the summer of 1986, two sacrificial pits opened within weeks of each other and produced more than 1,000 objects: bronze, gold, jade, ivory, and burnt animal bone, all smashed, burned, and packed into the earth in a single coordinated act. The excavators expected a minor regional outpost. What they found was the capital of a kingdom no surviving Chinese text mentions by name, not once. The records that should have remembered it stay silent. The faces are the part that stops people. Wide bronze masks with eyes that protrude from the skull on cylindrical stalks. Ears flared like wings. Mouths cut into thin, unreadable lines. Some stand over a meter tall. The largest mask weighs more than a refrigerator. They share no stylistic ancestry with Shang ritual bronzes, none of the Taoti motifs, none of the vessel shapes, none of the inscriptions. The Shang wrote on their bronzes. Sanxingdui wrote on nothing. And then there is the standing figure, 2.6 meters tall on its pedestal, hands curled around an object that decayed away before anyone could name it. The casting is hollow core, multi-piece, sectional, a technique that in this scale simply should not exist in 1200 BC. Consider what is missing: no script, no king lists, no tax records, no boundary stones, no inscribed oracle bones. A society capable of casting 4-meter bronze trees with cast birds perched on cast branches left no readable sentence behind. That absence is not neutral. The Shang, contemporary and only a few weeks' march away, were producing thousands of inscribed oracle bones in the same century. Sanxingdui chose otherwise, or never began. Their gold foil staff, their jade Kong tubes, their ivory tusks, stacked by the 100, all point to a ritual elite with deep specialist labor and long-distance trade. They had everything a state needs except the one thing every other early state developed first. No one has explained why. Whatever Sanxingdui was, its people ended it themselves. The bronzes in the pits were not lost or hidden. They were broken, heads severed from bodies, masks bent, trees snapped at the trunk. Then the pieces were burned, layered with ivory and jade, and sealed under tamped earth. 6 more pits, found between 2019 and 2022, repeated the pattern. Roughly 1100 BC, the city walls were abandoned. Population shifted south to Jinsha, near modern Chengdu, where some motifs continued in diminished form before fading entirely. No invasion layer, no mass graves, no sign of conquest. A civilization at its technical peak performed an enormous funeral for its own gods and walked away from the city that housed them. Sanxingdui belongs to a pattern we keep finding and keep refusing to name. Societies that reached extraordinary heights along paths nobody else took, then erased themselves before anyone outside could record them. The Indus had no armies. Göbekli Tepe had no agriculture. Sanxingdui had no writing. Each was a parallel peak, not a tributary feeding into the river of history we were taught. Next time, we follow the same pattern across the Aegean to the Minoans, who built a maritime empire without walls and vanished almost as completely. If you want that one, the subscribe button is the only thing keeping these videos in your feed.